Risks of owning rental property in no particular order. Even with taking all the precautions and doing all your due diligence, even an awesome tenant today can turn into a nightmare tenant later, hurting your pocketbook and sanity.
1,
Your tenants aren't making their payments at all. COVID has shown us these risks involved in long-term non-payment,
2,
or tenants aren't making their full payments. This can be just as painful coming out of pocket if you have debts to pay on your property.
3,
Costs to upkeep and rehabilitate the property. Over time, you'll have to fork out some cash to make repairs or replace wear and tear items and appliances. Wind and nature can gradually eat away at your place. These are also factors and will need to be kept as maintenance items ongoing. Property taxes are always going up. Always need to factor in those costs from year to year. And there's no guarantee that the taxes and insurance rates will not increase. It happens a lot after natural disasters, faster than you can increase your rents.
4,
Vacancy after tenant leaves, after lease ends, tenant abandoned the unit or is evicted. You never know for sure how long it'll take after a tenant vacates the property and you have to fix it up and get it ready to go for the next tenant. So you could lose a month or many months of rental income waiting to bring in your next tenant. During that time, you would have lost rental income and can't pay that mortgage you have on the house during that time period, potentially. There is a pretty hefty fee from the property manager or the agent you hire to rent the place back out for you, and that fee comes out to about 1 month's rent as an additional expense. Lack of liquidity.
5,
What this means is that if you needed the cash, you'll have to wait until the property sells before you have access to the cash, assuming a HELOC or cash out refinance isn't an option. Also, if you happen to need the cash at a bad time, think in 2008, then you may have been really hurting if you had to sell, forced to sell at a time like that. Being
6,
a landlord is not a job for everyone. I believe it's great and important to develop a great relationship with your tenants for many reasons, but it can also make it hard when you have to raise the rents because of expenses mentioned previously. Having to enforce a contract can be tough.
7,
Not all properties make sense to rent out. They are not good rental property investments. Check the numbers on your rental property or properties. The number I heard was about 80% of properties are considered bad to convert to rental income property, which we learned about when we were talking about negative cash flow properties. If the whole point of owning rental property is to make passive income, then it seems obvious that if it's not making you money every month after all expenses are paid, then the property is a bad investment.
8,
What ifs in owning rental property? The bigger the repairs or the bigger the issues can also hurt you both mentally and financially. What if your property manager quits or the quality of their work goes downhill? You may be stuck managing an out of state property, and that's not going to end well if you don't either find an awesome property manager fast or sell the property. Tax codes can change both positively and negatively. It is rumored the current new administration will be doing away with the 1031 exchange, for example. You may have to be ready for anywhere between $300 to $30,000 in unexpected repairs if you have to quickly flip a single unit to re-rent, and can include having to pull new permits and adhering to the new guidelines for your city, like on a recent project that we had to add special vents on a water heater and replace all plugs in the kitchen with breaker plugs. On another project, we had to put a water suppression system to meet the new building codes. Insurance claims, yes, there are times you can score and get lucky that an issue is covered by insurance, but that's not always the case, and you can't count on that at all, really, unless your damage is specifically covered by your insurer. So you have to plan accordingly. Decreased rents. Yes, this could happen. Just like when the housing market depreciates, so can the rental market. If an area becomes depressed and finding renters becomes harder, if the market your home is in becomes depressed and everyone around you is lowering their rent, guess what? The market speaks, and the rules of supply and demand also apply to real estate residential market. Also, I've also seen where the property acquired had a long-term renter in place and it wasn't assessed according to the market rates. So when the renter left, who was paying a higher rental rate, you had to adjust your rate to lower the market rate on your own personal rent.
9,
Decreased property value. Typically, I don't care about the depreciation of a home because as long as it's bringing in rental income and making my numbers work, it shouldn't bother anyone who's long in their passive income property investment. Typically, the only time this will matter is when you're buying, selling, or refinancing. The other time this will really be a factor is when it affects the previous pain point, the decreased rents, and then because the numbers do not work, you may feel forced later to sell. And so that's another factor I wanted to bring to light here. But short of that scenario, I don't care what the current value of my passive income rental properties are worth at any given time.
10.
Utility costs. If you have septic tanks or if you aren't rolling the costs of the utilities to the renter, or they don't pay all of them, then the payments fall on you to make as the owner. And keep in mind, these utilities may also need to be incurred while the home is vacant, because you can't have work happening at the property or show the place to potential renters without water, electricity, and the gas utilities still running a meter on you. Not to mention, unless you have owned a home before, you will have utility costs go up, and it's another factor to deal with. Water, sewage, garbage are usually bills that come from your city on top of the other stuff. The seller, when you buy, will always exaggerate lower what the cost of the utilities will be to make the deal look better for when it's time for them to sell and you to buy. Check receipts and statements, ignore the profit and loss statements because they're frankly crap. Oh, some properties may also have HOA fees to worry about as well. Like a property we own in St. Louis is a normal single-use family home, and we're surprised to find but an HOA imposed by the city for that area to keep up the lawns.
11.
Maintenance. Time goes by and things need to get fixed or replaced. That's just a part of home ownership. People also can damage both accidentally and on purpose your place, and those will also have to be addressed quickly and with capital, or the issues can grow into bigger ones. These may not seem important, but will need to be addressed with time, money, and people to do things like repairing, repainting, gutter cleaning, water heaters, or roof repairs, or replacing because water leaks are expensive from damage or mold, lawns, trees, overgrowth, brush. The city may send you letters to clean up your home because it's ruining the curb appeal of the neighborhood. All these things will be on the landlord to address and solve. Although it's true, a good property manager should also be able to assist with these as well. And it goes on and on. The things that will need to be addressed at some point or another.
12.
People, not just tenants, which we talked about already in depth, but also vendors, neighbors, city officials, insurance, lawyers, home inspectors, or property inspectors. All these people will be putting eyeballs, if not also their feet, inside of your property at one point or another. All introduce a level of risk to your investment and your income potential. You try to build and control as much as you can, but people have always been unpredictable and a factor to take into consideration. If people are there for a fire or there to complain or there to say the paint is peeling or the house is just ugly or the shingles are flying and causing damage to other people's property, these can also be potential downsides if you aren't able to handle the situation properly. You can't look at people as problems, just treat them with respect and dignity and hear them out. You can often easily solve most problems. If you can't be a people person, maybe investing in real estate isn't for you.
13.
And last but not least, being over leveraged. Don't make a mistake and over leverage yourself. Make sure you have money in your reserves for a rainy day because one day it will rain. Don't take people's word for anything. Do your own research. Like with any investment, a wise investor has an exit strategy for when things go wrong. And in general, make sure you fully understand what you're getting into before you get into it. When you're about to jump out of a plane, you make sure that the straps are good and tight on your parachute, right? Take just as much care into your investments before you take that leap as well. Feel free to comment below or send me a message from the healthwealthandrealestate.com website on the Get in Touch link at the top of the web page, and please like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future educational videos. I hope you found this video informational and learned a bunch of new things. I'm happy to help share more information if you reach out to me, and I wish you all the best.